I ran out of time, trying to get out of this around one more time. I think we found a bit of peace right here. Ooh,
So I need a lozenge. My boyfriend and I have been living in Seattle for about 3.5 years now. We've been in our current place for 2 years and our lease is about to end. We moved into our current unit because it was at a really good price at the time, and we moved in the summer, so rent prices were a little bit higher, but ultimately chose this place because it had a reasonable price point for the space we were offered. We have found over living here for 2 years that the location isn't as great as we had initially thought. At this point, we just don't think that the price that we'd pay to stay here is worth it. Something we really don't like about our apartment right now is that we live on the first floor, so it does get a little noisy. That, and because of the neighborhood we're in, it's not exactly the safest area to be in. At least in my experience, I found that.
You're moving the camera, baby.
I don't even know what I was saying. Over the past 2 years that we've lived here, I found that I actually am not super relaxed when I'm in the apartment. I found that my quality of life isn't as great as I want it to be, and I think that I'm in a position now to change that. Some things we're really looking for in our new apartment are: one, location. We really want to work. We want to work. We don't want to work. Since we don't have a car, we are walking around the city a ton. Either that or we take public transportation, and so we really want to move closer to where we were. Two, we really didn't want to sacrifice the space we have right now. Like, our apartment is currently around 800 square feet. It would be pretty hard for us to downsize to something like 600 square feet. We found that we're really comfortable around this square footage, so at least 700 square feet. Something else that I personally want in an apartment is good lighting. We live in Seattle, so it's really gloomy 10 months out of the year. Our current apartment has really large windows just because of how the unit is constructed. It's kind of like a loft style. So our current ceilings go up to like 20 feet. There's light coming in most of the time. I just think that since we're on the first floor, sometimes it's not as much as it could be. And so I really wanted to move to a place where we're getting natural light all the time, even on overcast days. Another thing is we're ready to move back into a high-rise. Currently, our unit doesn't go into our building, and so it's kind of a safety concern if we have to like pick up mail, or I have to go to the gym, or we have to literally do anything outside of the apartment because we have to leave and go into the outside world. I'm really prioritizing peace of mind. Now for the aesthetics of the apartment, really wanted either concrete or wood paneled floors. I really wanted a walk-in closet, and I want the building gym well equipped. Over the last year, I'm spending a lot of time in the gym, and right now our building's gym it does the job, but it could do better. And again, like I said, I have to literally leave the apartment and go into the outside world and then come back into the apartment building to get to our gym, which I kind of despise. And I figure if I'm spending that much of my day in there, I should enjoy it. I deserve to be in a space that like matches my vision. Do you know what I mean? Like, the energy has to be there. Some other non-negotiables we have are an in-unit washer and dryer, stainless steel appliances, and centralized AC and heating. And the budget we were hoping to stay around is $2,800 to $3,000 a month. As for our bonus criteria or nice to haves, I really wanted south or west facing windows. This ties into the more light thing that I wanted, and a bonus if they are floor to ceiling windows. We really like our kitchen island right now, and so we're hoping to move into another unit with a kitchen island as well. A large living room. We spend so much of our time in the living room. Like, I'm only in the bedroom to sleep and wake up. Like, I don't do anything else in there. 90% of the time I'm here. Having enough space to work with to like make the living room beautiful and gorgeous and perfect is really important. If need be, I could transfer stuff into the bedroom. It's a give and take. Like if there's floor to ceiling windows, maybe I don't need as big of a living room. You get the gist. Another nice to have is a den. Again, like I was saying, if we had a smaller living room but we had a den, perfect, beautiful. I think I'm kind of growing out of the idea of an open concept. I think the last 2 units we lived in, one was a studio and then this one is like a loft style, and I'm ready to have like separation. I live with my boyfriend and we're both big homebodies, so we're kind of here like working on our own things a lot of the time. And you know, not that I don't love to just be with him, but sometimes we need to not be in each other's space all the time. I think the most important thing is that there's just enough space in the unit in general. My last nice to have is a yoga room. Currently I do like my at-home yoga and Pilates classes here in my living room, but you know, having like a dedicated environment for it, I think makes you work out harder. I don't know, is that just me? In the first apartment we lived in, there was a dedicated yoga room, and I did feel more satisfied with my workouts when I would go there. I would be really happy if I could have a space like that again. Finally, our deal breakers. We have 2 cats. We definitely could not move in a place that isn't pet friendly. Another deal breaker is being in a bad neighborhood. Right now we don't live in the best neighborhood. We don't live in the worst neighborhood either, but I think because our location right now isn't as great as it could be, I feel a lot of uneasiness. Since we have this opportunity to move, I really want to prioritize not moving to a worse neighborhood, because if I already feel bad here, I'm gonna feel even worse if we move to a worse neighborhood. You know what I mean? Like I want to move up in our neighborhood safety rating. Our last deal breaker is an open concept or a no door bedroom. So like, you know those urban floor plans with like the bedroom that has like only a wall separating it? I definitely need a door. Yeah, pretty simple. I need a door in the bedroom. Like it needs to be its own bedroom. Okay, now moving on to some tips and tricks we have for moving in general. If you're looking to move or change your current situation, or if you're looking to move to Seattle, 1, try to move in the winter. You will find that prices are cut down at least several $100s. It will ultimately help you get more for your money, and that's obviously always a good thing when you're moving and looking at apartments and you have a set budget. Another tip I have is wherever you're moving, really do your research about the neighborhoods. For us, we're literally in Seattle proper, so the different neighborhoods are pretty distinct. Since Seattle isn't super big, it really does matter what street you live on. It does. For instance, some of the safer neighborhoods around here are Westlake, South Lake Union, so that's primarily where we looked. Some of the more unsafe, at least in my opinion, places to move to are in Belltown, downtown proper, and Capitol Hill, so we definitely didn't want to move there. Granted, I do live pretty close to Belltown right now, so Belltown is literally a street over. On my commute to work, I pass by it every day and it gets a little sketchy. Like, I'm tired of having to be on guard all the time. Not that you shouldn't be on guard like all the time, but just that I am just tired of feeling uneasy every single day on my walk to and from work. I want to minimize the amount of time I'm feeling unsafe. I think one of the trade-offs you make when you live in a bit of a safer area is price, for sure. All the apartments we looked at were in or around South Lake Union, and that's usually where the more expensive apartments are. But since it's the winter, I found that it was a bit more affordable than usual. I think Westlake is a really great place to move to. It's also comparable to the safetiness factor of South Lake Union, on the condition that it is a little bit further from the happenings of Seattle. Another tip I have, really think about how much time you're spending in the apartment. For me and my boyfriend, we spend almost all of our time here. We don't go out that often, so it's really important that the building is on the newer side so we don't have to worry about maintenance all the time, that our appliances are up to date, and that our space in general has a nice vibe and energy to it. Whereas if you're someone who's barely in the apartment, or you're going out a lot, maybe you do want to live in downtown, or maybe you don't care so much that your appliances are stainless steel or that you have a gas stove. Do you know what I mean? Also think about what amenities are important to you. Like, do you care if you have an in-unit washer and dryer? Do you care if you have AC and heating? Do you care if your building gym is nice? Maybe you don't cook at home, so you don't care about your gas stove. Or maybe you don't hit the gym, so you don't care what your building's gym looks like. Or maybe you don't really care about having a rooftop view, so you don't care that your your building's rooftop view isn't nice. Those kind of things I think are good to think about when you're choosing an apartment. And then another thing also tied to location, where are you gonna work? Like, are you okay with commuting? Do you have a car? I think one of the bigger things about Seattle is paying for a parking spot in your building can get really expensive. Right now, it's around $300 a month just for a parking spot. And so if you're the type of person to use a car a lot or go outside of the city a lot, maybe you don't need to live so close to the city and you can offset the price of parking and convenience to your work location because you have a car. Whereas in my case, I can use that extra money, girl math, that I would use for parking on the base rent itself. Also, commute really does matter when you're working full time. Like me personally, I don't want to waste any time getting to and from work. That's precious time that I could be spending on myself. Because I have to take public transport everywhere or walk, I want to cut that time down. Like sometimes I do like to walk, but if I had a nice gym, I would rather walk on the treadmill at the gym than walk out in the scary outside world. Are you kind of seeing how this all comes together? And lastly, look for places that are offering concessions. This one specifically applies to people who are on a budget or who maybe want a unit outside of their price range. For us, a lot of places were offering like 6 to 10 week concessions, which cut down our base rent by $200 to $500. That's huge. So also keep that in mind when I start showing apartments and the prices they were going for. I will show the original price and then after concessions. If you can't find it on the website, I would talk to your leasing agent and see if they are offering any specials. Okay. Touring the apartments. So this is going to be our third time moving, and every time we have been apartment hunting, we have seen this specific building. Before we moved into this unit, the unit I'm about to show is the one we were choosing between. At the time, it wasn't really in our budget, but this time around it was because of the winter prices, and it's a really beautiful unit. So it had a kitchen island, which we really love, and it was a corner window unit with a view. You know, I should look up what those are called so that I can refer to them. So it had a city view, but also a sliver of the Olympic Mountains, which was really nice. It was kind of a rainy day when we toured, so it was a little dark, but as you can see, there was still a lot of light coming in, which I really liked. This unit was about 850 square feet. It had a nice bathroom, stainless steel appliances. It had a gas range, which we really liked, and windows everywhere. It also had a pretty spacious walk-in closet, which I was really excited about, and a window in the bedroom, which we currently don't have. The whole unit was really spacious and I really liked the aesthetic element of it. I loved the finish and it was really beautiful. I even didn't mind the concrete pillar in the living room. I think it added to the space instead of took away, and it wasn't too in the way of the windows, which I really liked. We saw a couple other units in this building, but they just didn't quite fit in what we were looking for. Either they were too small or there wasn't enough light coming in, but the building itself was really modern. So this building has one of the most gorgeous rooftop amenities I have ever seen. I have toured a lot of places, and this one I think is really up there with some of the most beautiful views. It has a wraparound view of the sound and the city, which is really beautiful, and the way it's furnished is absolutely gorgeous. Also, I really loved how much space was at the rooftop amenity. There were so many areas to hang out or like host things. Like, it definitely wouldn't feel cramped if you wanted to bring friends up there or if you were hosting a party, and I just love the way it was decorated. I mean, the view speaks for itself. So this unit is definitely a top contender for where we want to move to next. I think the base price was around $3,500, but they were offering a 10-week concession, which brought it down to around $2,800, which is gorgeous. And they were offering a $1,000 move-in credit if we were to move in at the end of January, which was really, really tempting. Something else I really loved about this building was their gym. Their gym was really modern, clean, really well equipped. They had a separate yoga room, a weight room, and a cardio room, which I really loved, and it was huge, so you definitely wouldn't feel cramped when you were working out there. It truly did just feel like going to a real official gym. I was just really in love with this unit. I mean, I have been in love with this unit for 3 years now, and so I felt specifically drawn to it. Another plus about this building is that it's really close to where I work, so I would only have to walk a couple blocks to get to the office, which is huge for me because I hate having to ride the bus to and from work. Like I said, safety is a huge thing for me and something I wanted to prioritize when moving. So on that note, the building is in the Belltown area, so that kind of threw me off a bit. It was kind of the only thing I didn't quite like about this building. Like, yeah, it was really convenient to work, but also in the 2 blocks that it took me to get there, how safe would I really be? And I know because actually on my commute right now to work, I walk by the building and I really hate that walk. So that was the only con, I think. Moving on to the next building we toured. So this one was on the edge of SLU and Cap Hill. This one was also pretty close to my office and in a generally safer neighborhood, which I really liked. On first impressions, when we walked in, the thing that really stuck out to me was how spacious and like open the floor plans were. I kid you not, when we had walked into this unit, we went straight into this den area and we thought that that was it, like that was the living room and there was going to be a bedroom, but then we turned to our right and we saw the actual kitchen space and living area and we were like jaw on the floor. It was kind of crazy. The other thing was just how huge the windows were, and like clearly it was a really cloudy day, like pretty dark, but it was still very light in there. Overall, I just loved like how much freaking space there was in this unit. There was even a balcony, which was a nice bonus. I think the only thing I didn't like about the view was kind of how boring it was. It seemed a little somber outside, which is to be expected because we were in Seattle, but because of the neighborhood we were in, we were kind of surrounded by office buildings, which is fine, but I don't know, the energy, like the vibe from the outside wasn't giving. I did really love how the whole unit was like littered with windows though. I didn't get a video of it, but this unit didn't have that much closet space, which I think was fine because since there was so much space in the unit itself, we could probably add like storage areas and stuff to keep things. The other thing about this unit was that the appliances were a little bit less than modern, which we could live with, but also if we're spending a ton of time in there, I would kind of want our appliances to be just a little bit more up to date. It would also avoid things like having to call maintenance all the time. So this unit was about 1,000 square feet and going for $2,800 despite not having any concessions, so it was still a contender, and for the amount of space you're getting, it was kind of a crazy deal. As for the amenities of this building, they were okay. I think the wow factor of this unit was really just how much space there was and how many windows there were. It had a whole den, gorgeous window in front, and I could imagine us using that space all the time. Toured a couple more units in this building, but nothing quite stood out to us as much as that first one did. Either the den was too dark or the views weren't as great or there weren't as many windows. I think that first unit we looked at really was the one we were considering if we were to move to this building. The amenities did leave a little something to be desired. There was a yoga room which I really liked because I do a lot of yoga and Pilates, but I think their gym was a little small and not super up to date. They also had a little lounge area with barbecues and a huge patio to hang out and do stuff in the summer. It wasn't as large as what the first building we toured offered, but it was still pretty sizable. I just can't imagine that I would be utilizing it as much. Overall, I like this building because of the generally convenient location, the spacious floor plan, and the windows. I think everything else kind of didn't call to me as much. Moving on to the third building we toured. This building was also an SLU. The last time we moved, we were considering this place, but we couldn't fit in a tour at the time, so this was our first time touring it. And I think the main reason I wanted to live in this building was because of its proximity to where my friends live. It would make it so convenient for us to hang out. I would love living by my friends. I mean, who wouldn't? It also is still pretty close to work, which I like. The overall vibe of the building was very naturey, which I kind of liked. It was pretty calm. It was a bit of an older building, but still super modern. I mean, stainless steel appliances, wood flooring. However, this one wasn't a high-rise. We had really high hopes for this building because they offered a loft floor plan, which we were really interested in. It was one of our top things we were looking for when we were moving. My boyfriend and I have been wanting to live in like a proper loft forever, and so this would kind of satisfy that if we really loved floor plan. The only thing was there was only one unit left, so our tour guide took us around a few of the non-loft floor plans first, which were okay. Pretty spacious, I think around 750-ish square feet, but I didn't quite like how much light was coming in. It was pretty dark and the windows were facing the courtyard, which wasn't my favorite thing, even though the courtyard was very pretty. Also, there was not much closet space at all, which was one of the biggest things I was looking for in a unit. So moving on to the loft. Like I said, we had really high hopes for it, but we're ultimately kind of disappointed. It ended up being more of a townhome style, which was still pretty nice, but just not what we were looking for. I think personally it felt too closed off for me. Also, since these units facing the street and on the first floor, it was really not getting much sun at all. I think the windows were like north facing, so even less sun than what we have now, which I really wasn't a fan of. Also, I think the biggest deal breaker for me with this unit was that there was no centralized AC. There was heating, but there was only a ceiling fan for getting the air to circulate around in there, which I think would really annoy me if I were to move in there. As for the price, I think the regular one-bedroom units were around $3,000 to $3,200, and then the townhome was around $2,900. They were offering a 4 to 6 week concession, which would bring the price for the one bedroom to be around $2,700, and the townhome would be around $2,700 to $2,800, I think. Surprisingly, I did really enjoy the amenities that this building offered. On the rooftop, they had a really cute garden area, which they said they have a company come in and plant stuff during the summer, and it's just like blooming with fresh produce, vegetables, fruits, things like that. That really interested me, and I really liked the view of the city that they offered. Multiple grills, heated lamps for the seating areas, and just like lots of places to host stuff, hang out, cook stuff. It just had a really pretty design, and I could definitely see myself hosting something there. They also offered this like clubhouse amenity, which was really cute. It was like a little tree house in the middle of the courtyard. Our tour guide was saying that people like to go up there and play board games or just hang out. Like, it was just such a cute and like cozy space. And it had like a little furnace in there, so in the winters you could come in and be all cozy, and that was really cute. Another amenity that I really loved in this building was their gym. They had a 2-floor gym, and it was fully equipped, and it was also really quiet. Overall, I really liked the building, but I just didn't like the units we saw, and that was a deal breaker for me because obviously we're gonna be spending 99% of our time in the unit. And the other thing I wanted to get away from after living here in my current place is having to leave the building to actually get to the amenities, which we would have had to do if we moved into that townhome unit. So this next building I'm about to show, we actually weren't considering at all when we were first listing out the places we wanted to tour. I was actually just talking to my coworker about our apartment hunting journey, and she recommended that we check out this building, which was like just a couple blocks from the office. So I booked a tour last minute. My boyfriend and I just went after work. And let me just say, at this point, we weren't really expecting much. We were pretty much kind of set on that first unit that we saw because it was offering pretty much everything that I wanted. I will say though, when I was touring the floor plans online, it did look very promising, but I still wasn't convinced that it was going to be in the running for an apartment that we were going to move into. The first thing that really stood out to us about this building though was just how convenient the location really was. It was only a few blocks from my workplace and my boyfriend's workplace. It's also right by a lot of places I like to eat, and it's really close to a grocery store, which I really like, so it would be really convenient to get around. Now getting into the actual unit, the first unit we saw I really liked. I was immediately struck by how spacious it felt and how nicely designed it was. It had a cute kitchen island and it had a patio, which I also really liked. I think the thing that we didn't like about this unit was just that the windows were like north or east facing, and so I don't think we would have gone for this unit. Also, the living room was quite small. I think this unit was about 700 to 750 square feet. The bedroom was really nice though. It had a cute little corner window where you could see onto the balcony, and it had a nice bathroom, nicely decorated, and a lot of storage under the sink. The other thing this unit had was a pretty spacious walk-in closet, which like I said, I was really looking for. I also really liked how much space there was in the kitchen. It came with a kitchen island and stainless steel appliances. The next unit we toured in this building though, I think really blew us away. Immediately when we walked in, I was in love with floor plan and how the unit looked. This day was also pretty dark, but as you can see, there was still a lot of natural light coming in. This floor plan was really similar to our top contender. It had a kitchen island with the hanging lights on top, a pillar in the living room with the corner window. I think both of the units had a similar square footage. The unit in this building was just a little bit smaller, I think by around 40 square feet, so it was around 800. I think one of the key differences about this unit was was that there was a lot more space to cook because the kitchen kind of wrapped around 2 walls instead of just one. I also really liked that it offered a lot of storage in the kitchen because I feel like a lot of the units we looked at did not have any pantry storage, which I didn't realize until after I saw this unit and I was like, wait, that's where I can put my food. Another difference is that the windows in this unit actually had a cohesive view of our surroundings. There were office buildings, they were enough of a distance away where it added to the view instead of being the view. Though I couldn't see much of the water or any mountains, I still really liked what I was seeing from the windows, which is kind of important when you have huge windows. And I also really loved how open the living room felt. Similar to the other building, I did like the pillar and I liked the area it was placed in. It wasn't obstructing the window view too much. I think this unit's windows were also just a little bit larger than our top contenders, which I really liked. Similar to the other unit, this one also had a darker finish, like dark accents, the darker floors and cabinets. The bedroom again had a similar amount of space and a window with a view, which I really liked. Then the first unit, I liked that this unit came with a walk-in closet, but it was significantly smaller than our top contenders walk-in closet, which I kind of didn't like. I was really hoping to get a bigger size walk-in closet because this one is kind of similar to the size of our closet now. Another plus to this unit though was that it had a dual sink vanity, which I kind of love. Just had a huge bathroom in general. I really liked that it connected from the entryway and from the bedroom. Overall, I was really drawn to this unit, and it was kind of a curveball because we were actually gonna apply that day, but then we saw this unit and like it threw everything out the window, and suddenly we were conflicted between these two units. We saw a couple more units in this building, but after seeing that second one, we honestly didn't need to see any more. The amenities of this building were also really nice. I specifically really loved the gym area in this building. It wasn't as big as the first or the third building's gyms, but I still really liked it because this one was closer to the top floor, and so the view was absolutely gorgeous. Like, the gym was fully surrounded by windows. There was a line of cardio machines and the view was just like absolutely gorgeous. You could see the Space Needle, the Olympic range. It was just such a nice vibe in there. It was also pretty well equipped, though the equipment wasn't as modern as some of the other buildings we saw. I think it would definitely do the job for what I do in the gym. I don't do anything super crazy. It was also connected to a dedicated yoga room, which again was one of the bonuses that I was looking for. But I think, yeah, the thing that really drew me to the gym was just how pretty the view was. I spent a lot of time trying to get my steps in on the treadmill, so having a view while I'm walking would just be so nice, because right now, unfortunately, my view is a wall. I also loved how many cardio machines there were, so I wouldn't feel too cramped, and it was overall still pretty spacious, which is important to me because I spend a good amount of time in the gym these days. Since this building was a high-rise, it did offer a really beautiful rooftop amenity. Definitely had a different view than the first building, but it was still just as beautiful. I also liked how many different rooms there were, different areas to hang out or work or play games. The decor didn't quite vibe with my aesthetic as much, but I still really enjoyed it and I could still see myself hanging out there. As for pricing, the unit that we really liked had a base price of around $3,200, but they were offering a 1-month concession, which would bring the price to around $2,900 a month, which was right in our price range, and so that was really exciting for us. Overall, I think this building really hit all the marks in what we were looking for, with just a couple of downsides being that the building wasn't as modern as some other high-rises. For instance, the gym equipment and the entry mechanisms, it would be a key and lock based system instead of a fob system, which really isn't a big deal, but you know, it's something to consider, being that most of the buildings around are more modern and offer that feature. The last building I saw, kind of knew that we weren't gonna move here, but it was worth looking at if perhaps there wasn't a unit that we would drop everything for just to live in. The location of this building was also pretty close to where we both work. This building is one of the luxury apartments, and the overall aesthetic of it was just really pleasing. When you walk in there, you really do feel luxury. As for the units we toured, most of them had floor-to-ceiling windows, full pantry, super modern appliances, and gas ranges. I also really loved how many storage options there were. There were just so many cabinets and drawers to put stuff in, and the way they designed it was very very well thought out. Overall, I think just the design of the apartment was very seamless, like super modern, and just overall like pretty gorgeous. All of the units we toured were around 670 to 700 square feet, and they were going for around 3,000 to 3,500. They were offering a concession which would bring down the price to around 2,800 to 3,100, but I don't think it would be worth it for the price we were paying to get a smaller space when we toured a bunch of other places which were much more spacious for a lot less money. I will say, if you're someone who doesn't need as much space and are more into building amenities and aesthetic, then this might be for you. I think the other thing we didn't like about the units, at least a lot of the ones we toured, had north or east facing windows which wouldn't offer that much light. As you can see in the videos, it was pretty dark and we had to turn on the light in order to not make it so dark in there. Again, this building is a luxury, modern, newly built building, so all of the units offered a smart home capabilities, Google Nest controlled AC and heating, and also automatic blinds. As for the rest of the building, I kind of knew what to expect as I had lived in the sister building, but all of the amenities were super pretty, super well designed, super aesthetic. I think the general theme of this building was kind of Pacific Northwest, and that's why all the accents were like wood and had a lot of dark grays and greens and browns. The rooftop amenity again was so gorgeous, like just the view that you got from it was absolutely insane. It is one of the tallest buildings in Seattle, so you get a full panoramic view of the whole city, including Mount Rainier, the Olympic Mountains, the Space Needle, the Sound, the whole shebang. And the rooftop amenity was just so spacious. There were so many rooms, work areas, just places to hang out, and just the overall design again was gorgeous. The gym was also really nice. It was pretty well equipped, but this building's gym was on the lower floor, so there wasn't much of a view. Again, since this was a newer building, all of the machinery was really new, and it also had a yoga room, which was pretty bare, but would still work. I think the overall aesthetic of the building wasn't really my vibe, but could still appreciate how well everything was designed and how beautiful the building was in general. And on the first floor, they were connected to a cute little cafe with a separate working area for residents. Overall, I think this would be a great place to live if you were really looking for a luxury apartment, and I don't really have anything bad to say about it except that you will be paying for a luxury apartment if you decide to move here. For us though, I just don't think it would have worked out, A, in our budget, and B, in comparison with the other buildings and units we toured, it just didn't make as much sense for us to move there, but it was still a nice experience to tour it nonetheless. Okay, I'm gonna try to wrap this up now because it's getting a little dark and my boyfriend's making food. I'm super hungry. Those are all the buildings we saw. Ultimately, I think the things that we're gonna factor in most are location and the actual unit itself, because that's where we spend the most time. So we do have some things to think about. I won't give away which apartment we are applying to in this video, but perhaps in another one. I hope this video gave you some helpful tips and tricks for what to look for when choosing an apartment, and or helped you in general if you're moving to Seattle. Comment below which one you think we chose, and make sure to tune in for the next one where we will be knee deep in moving chaos.